Farm friends, it's Farmer Sam here, coming to you from the Runamuk Acres Conservation Farm in Maine. It's been a long couple of days over here, but I got a chance to sit down now, and I'm going to read last weekend's essay, or my farm update there. It's okay to be messy. There's a version of this life that looks good in photos, but that is not my life. So if anybody has questions, you can leave them in the chat, and I'll make sure to hang around after I have finished reading this week and answer whatever questions you might have. Ugh, I muttered as snow wedged itself around my ankle inside my sneakers. Should have worn my muck boots for this. It was for this very reason I had held off so long on taking the first woods walk of the season. I knew full well there would still be snowy patches in the deep woods, but Tuesday afternoon was mild and lovely, and I was eager to get my new trail cams up in the conservation acreage. So there I was, wading through calf-high snow in an open glade while BB bounced around across the open ground under the trees, completely skirting the deep stuff. Once I dipped back under the canopy on the other side of the glade, the trail was clear and the going was easy. The ground was still wet with snowmelt and spongy underfoot, but not muddy. Phoebe and I followed the trail down to the wetland habitat in the back corner of the property, and as I sidestepped another pile of deer scat, I noted wryly that this trail was a proverbial deer highway. And then the results of the poll. This week we are voting on why you are here, why you're following my blog, The Maine Homestead Life. And if you want to go over to the online post and vote on that, those results will get published in this weekend's post. But for last week's poll results, it was Julia Childs by 64%. And with the follow-up being Prairie Dawn and Lady Elaine Fairchild. And I've included pictures of the sheep who have been named those names on the post, so be sure to go check it out. The things you will see. Ducking off the main trail, I followed the deer path down into the cedar grove and the low-lying land where the creek runs through. It's wet and swampy here, and the cedars like it. My maples live back here, too. Their remoteness is the very reason I haven't been able to tap them or produce maple syrup. I'd need a snowmobile to reach them at that time of year. Excuse me. I surveyed the area, the available trees for mounting the trail cam, the way the deer trail ran down toward the water, and decided I wanted the camera on the tree across the stream. From there, I could face it toward the deer trail as it came down the knoll and hopefully catch a good view of any approaching wildlife. A tree had fallen across the creek at just the right angle, and I imagined some satisfying footage of my woodland neighbors crossing that log in front of the camera. Again, wishing I'd planned this excursion a little better, or at all, I looked for a way across. It's a small stream, not more than 4 feet wide in this section, maybe 2 feet deep, all swollen with snow melt and recent rain, but I had no interest in soaking my sneakers in icy water and having them be wet for the next 3 days. Working my way upstream, I found a mossy log crossing and used a 6-foot stick to steady myself across. I picked my way over the spongy tussocks, backtracked to my chosen tree, and pulled the trail cam from my hoodie's front pouch. This was a moment I'd been waiting for since I bought the property in 2018. 8 years of this back corner of my own land remaining a mystery while I was too busy keeping the whole operation from falling apart to do anything as indulgent as watching for deer. Besides, I can see them in the field from my bedroom window, hoping to see something else. So I talked to the tree as I wrapped the strap around its trunk, giddy as a schoolgirl. Oh, the things you will see, my friend. Big deer, little deer. I bet you see some foxes, some bunny rabbits. 8 years. It took a breakup to change that. Grief, it turns out, makes a strange shopping companion, the kind that shows up at midnight in your Amazon cart with no apologies. 2 trail cams, 0 regrets. I picked my way back over the mossy log and headed toward the field. The afternoon light was going golden through the trees, and Braytek had dinner going back at the farmhouse, and I was hungry. I actually have a little video I made posted in this post if you want to go and check that out and take a walk in the woods with me. This week on the farm. And of course, this week, now that we're reading it on Wednesday, refers to last week. But I participated in the Ag Stacker Roundtable on Sunday with Helen Freeman and crew. Adam Cohen, Al Knock from Son of the Soil, Cheryl Queen of Markets, and of course, Tim Connolly. The question of the day was, how do you make real food easier to access without expecting farmers to carry the whole system? We went round and round on that one, my friends. And I hope you'll take the time to watch our conversation. You can find it on Helen Freeman's Me, My Pigs, and I. I've also shared it. If you go back through notes, you can find that, or just search for Ag Stacker Roundtable on Substack. So you could watch that while you're doing the dishes or cooking dinner, because these are important topics that affect every single one of us, regardless of our walk of life, because everybody eats. Just saying. My garden fence project. My sister was here doing her laundry Sunday afternoon and volunteered to help when she saw me heading outside to make a start on the garden fence project. Together, we installed 6 T-posts along the back side of the garden and got all of the extenders in place to increase the fence height. I hit a snag when it came time to secure the extenders with the screws that came with them, because to me, they seemed too large for the holes. But it turns out I was just missing the right tool for the job. I have lined up a nut driver, and by Saturday afternoon, so this past Saturday, I should have those extenders bolted to the T-posts. After that, it's insulators and wire, then a grounding system before I can hook everything up to the electric fence charger, and I still need to build a new front gate. Bed prep and garden reclamation begins. Now that the fruit tree pruning is done, there's still work to do on the other parts of the property. But the fruit trees are done, and that's the important part. I'm turning my attention to reclaiming my poor, neglected garden. I'm embarrassed by the state of it, and I can't stand it any longer, which is exactly how I ended up taking a chainsaw to the stand of sunflower stalks that had consumed an entire plot. Yes, I have multiple plots, and each plot has several beds. Remember my neighborhood companion planting system? These plots are my blocks, and they make crop rotation a breeze. I hauled out the 20 by 100 foot piece of black plastic and rolled it out across 3 long beds near the front of the garden that had increasingly gotten away from me for 3 years running. Pixel, do you mind? Dude, you don't even live here. Psst, go on now. Go. I'm doing something here. Oh, he's such a troublemaker. So every year the weed pressure got worse, and I decided it was time to take them back. Another block had already been smothered under plastic from a previous season, and I peeled that back to admire the bare beds beneath. This was the block where I had experimented with wool as mulch. The jury is still out on that one. Peas planted! I put a good chunk of time into fully prepping one of the trellis beds so that I could get snap peas in the ground ahead of the rain we were expecting on Thursday. That meant raking dead weeds off the bed, pulling the roots of invading crabgrass, and forking the soil to aerate before seeding. I will do a second sowing as soon as possible for the farm stand, but I wanted to get around in right away for Braytek and I to eat. Snap peas do really well here, and they are prolific producers. And I love them because they're easy to blanch and freeze, and I'm planning to use a vacuum sealer to keep them at peak freshness. First, bluebird of the season. With so much to do, I hadn't even finished putting up the birdhouses yet, so when I spotted the first bluebird of the season, I took it as my cue to stop dragging my feet, and Thursday afternoon I put up 2 more. Birdhouses, that is. Now I have 4 new birdhouses scattered about the farm. 3 of them are in a line across the back of the field, and they look so nice. These little projects for wildlife feel like a confirmation of my conservation mission, and I can't help taking some pride in that. Rainy day bread live. My poor aching body was grateful for a rainy day on Thursday, still adjusting to the increased physical demands of the season after a more sedentary winter. I baked 6 loaves of multigrain bread and tucked them away in the freezer. With planting season nearly upon me, I know I'll want that reserve. I've also been experimenting with video this week and ongoing since. Short daily farm vlogs with a quick download of the day's events. It's a work in progress, but I'm becoming more and more comfortable with it. Slowly. I've made my peace with the fact that it doesn't have to be all posh and polished. People, I hope, want to see the mess. That's how you know it's real, my friends. On impulse, since I couldn't go far while the bread was baking, I decided to do a live stream on Substack and read last week's farm update out loud, hoping to reach people who don't always have time to sit down with a long-form essay. I think I can help more people if I can meet them where they are. That's the goal anyway. So I'm taking my own advice and doing it even though it scares me. Hard things don't get easier if we don't do them. Follow the Maine Homestead Life on your favorite podcast platform. Catch the daily farm vlogs on YouTube for a glimpse into life here, and expect more video content ahead. Practical, honest, and aimed at helping you build more self-reliance in your own life. Sneak peek at next week's projects, being this week now. Substack growth sessions with David McIlroy. I've been doing that all week. Final farm marketing class with Liz Reitzig. Bringing the garden fence online. That has been quite a project. Putting out the irrigation lines for the season. Ongoing reclamation of the garden and bed prep for another round of peas. Seeding fast-growing flowers like zinnias and cosmos. And put out the second trail cam in the tamarack grove. It's okay to be messy. Making my way back to the farm truck parked at the edge of the field, I heard the peepers for the first time this season. My heart did that thing that it always does when it hears spring frog song. Gratitude and joy filling me up until tears pricked my eyes. How I love it so. There's a version of this life that looks good in photos. The tidy pantry, the perfectly manicured raised beds, the golden hour barn shot. That is not my life. My life is messy, with failed relationships, a garden lost to weeds for 2 years running, bills that need paying, and a list of projects still waiting 8 years into this endeavor. Runamuk's story is raw and unfiltered because I believe in transparency. I want people to know what they're signing up for so they can make an informed decision about whether any part of this life is right for them. For a long time, I've largely avoided video. Homesteading and farming content on YouTube seemed primarily dominated by men who like to hear themselves talk. It just rubs me the wrong way. On Instagram and TikTok, there's a lot of carefully curated homesteading aesthetic and the Barbie doll trad wife. I don't really like that either. Both of them left me feeling like I didn't belong. I am no supermodel, my friends. I haven't even brushed my hair today. I'm just an average woman with an average body trying to live this farmish life to the best of her ability. I can't afford nice clothes. I don't always like to brush my hair, I work hard, and sometimes I am downright messy and unkempt. I'm always juggling bills, and I've had to bootstrap my way along to gain any ground at all. But I've realized that the mess is part of the message, that you can do this no matter where you are. You do what you have with you do what you can with what you have, to quote good old Theodore Roosevelt. I love that quote. It's okay to be messy, to make mistakes, to lose your way, especially when a bearded fellow with broad shoulders charms you into forgetting yourself for a moment. It's okay to be lost sometimes, but there is always something you can do right now, no matter how small, and those small actions compound over time, and they gain momentum until one day you look up and you realize you've become the person you always wanted to be. So, from now on, I'll be sharing more video content. It won't always be perfectly polished, but it will be real. I can promise you that. So, until next week, farm friends, and I hope you'll click over to the text version of this post and vote on our poll, and listen to the song that I've shared at the end of this post by Nightbird. It really speaks to me, and I hope it will speak to you too. So if you have any questions, now's the time, friends. Go ahead and drop them in the chat, and I can give you a few minutes here before I'm going to sign off for the day and go sit on the couch because I'm pooped. Nice to see so many people here with me. I appreciate it. Okay, guys. Well, I thank you again for being here, and just know that you're supporting my work just by being here and reading my essays and my farm blog posts, and I really appreciate you. So I hope you have a good evening wherever you are.